everybody. Welcome to the wrap-up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic live post-game show where we recap, we dissect, and we have some fun talking about the latest Raptors game. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, again here with none other than the man, the myth, the legend. Can I keep doing that, Oren? The man, the myth, the legend, Oren Weisfeld.
You start the show however you want. It's up to you.
Oren, tonight the Raptors defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers 112-96. That brings the Raptors record. This is where my anxiety starts heightening, Oren, because I keep thinking about that email and those DMs I was getting. They're bringing the Raptors record to 26 wins and 35 losses on the season. It was a good win. Monday night, Cleveland Cavaliers, no Colin Sexton. You have all the guys there. You know, Kyle's healthy, Fred's healthy, Siakam, Watanabe, Birch. All the starters are there. Raptors took an early lead. It was kind of back and forth throughout the game, and then the fourth quarter is when we just saw the All-NBA second-team version of Pascal Siakam. Oren, for me, I don't know if you can really take a lot from this game simply because the Cleveland Cavaliers are not a very good team, and the fact that they're missing their best player in Colin Sexton, and they also employ one of my favorite young guards in the league, in Darius Garland, who I feel like every single time I watch him, he's gotten so much better at basketball. I like the Cavs. I like Isaac Okoro. You know, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, Oren, but I have his top shot moment. You know, his rookie moment. So,
nice.
So shout out to Isaac Okoro for that. I also had him in fantasy for a bit.
You better be a superstar one day, Isaac.
That's what I'm saying. He literally better be a superstar. But it was good. It was good to watch him play. He had a pretty good game as well. He had 20 points. He took advantage of his opportunities. 1 for 8 from 3. And we're going to talk maybe about a bit about that later, about how Kyle Lowry was just letting him shoot every 3 he wanted to shoot in that game. What stood out for you in this game? I feel like you're going to go towards the end of the game because that's really where we saw Pascal and OG take over. What did you think?
I mean, I kind of mentioned this on the last show, which is like for a story I'm writing right now. I'm really focused on the bench rotations and how Nurse operates those. And so that's what I was watching for today. And I think that was the difference in the second half, because in the first half, you saw him run out this all 5 bench player unit, and it failed miserably. I think it was Utah, Bembry, Malachi, Gillespie, and Hood. And then in the second half, they kept either Kyle or Fred on the floor the whole game, and they played one starter, so either Kyle or Fred with the bench. Yeah. And that just made a lot more sense. I mean, pretty obvious, but that was the difference for me, was really like the way that the bench played in the second half compared to the first half, where the first half they blew a big 10-point lead. And then in the second half, they just kind of kept the game where it was, kind of thing. And then at the end, you saw Malachi and Utah kind of heat up as the game went on. So for me, it was actually less about Siakam and OG. You know, it's getting to the point where we're now saying game after game, those two had good games, which is a nice thing for sure. They're bringing it consistently on the offensive end, both of them. And that's huge. But yeah, I think for me, the biggest point of this game was honestly Malachi and Utah and the bench rotations. I thought that was kind of interesting to play just one point guard with the bench, and it kind of worked out. If Nurse can get away with that, with resting 4 of his starters and just playing one with a bench, then the Raptors they're flying, because that's just a luxury most teams don't have.
Yeah, I mean, at one point in that game, Warren, I wasn't going to lie to you. I even tweeted it out. I said, why is, S blank, playing? And for me, like, he kind of shut me up, honestly, pretty quickly. He did have a couple of plays, I want to say, where he just didn't look like he knew where he was supposed to be. Offensively, he was just like shuffling around the 3-point line. And for him, I've always said, like, Stanley isn't as good as a cutter as he probably should be, especially for a guy who, again, doesn't shoot the 3 all that well. I feel like when Watanabe's in the game, his spatial awareness is so good. He's in the corner when he's supposed to be in the corner. He's cutting when he finds those little gaps. Cleveland was running a lot of zone in this game, Warren, a lot of zone. And zone is something that the Raptors have struggled with for quite a while. Like the Raptors, it's almost like their players understand how to break a zone even at the NBA level, but they just sometimes don't have the players to do that. And like I said, Utah's spatial awareness is incredible. He's always in the right spot at the right time, right? We're starting to see Orn a lot more mid-range jumpers from Utah, which I like. Like he can shoot that, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, Stanley, he was all right. He was all right. I'm not gonna, complain. Complaining is not gonna be the first thing I do after this game ends. I was super excited with how Pascal played, and I like how Nick Nurse kind of dialed down his minutes in this game. We didn't really see the high 30s anymore from Pascal or OG, or even Fred for that matter. They were all at 32 minutes. I think Pascal ended with 31 minutes, so just a minute below.
Wow.
But it was good. It was good to see Pascal be extremely aggressive. 19 field goal attempts in 31 minutes. I was happy with that. Made 11 of them. 25 points. He was a plus 17. The entire starters were all pluses. And at one point, the entire bench were all minuses up until I want to say maybe end of third, early fourth quarter. So for me, Oren, I felt like this game at the end of the third was going to end in a way where it was like, oh, well, the starters did their job, and now we're just kind of waiting on the bench to pick it up. And the bench did eventually pick it up later in the game. Utah did really well. And then we got to see this guy, Oren, and this is a guy I wanted to talk about for quite a while. Malachi Flynn, man, it's really like scary to me how this 22-year-old rookie can be playing with Yuta Watanabe and Stanley and sometimes Kyle and sometimes, Fred. Nick Nurse mixes it up a lot. But for me, Malachi, goodness gracious. Like, this guy's so incredibly poised in the fourth quarter. I don't know what to say anymore. I genuinely don't know what to say anymore. So I'm excited. I feel like poise, Oren, is a quality in a rookie that you want to see so much, and you don't get to see it maybe until their fourth year, or maybe their fifth year, or maybe on their second NBA team. But oh man. I'm in shock. I don't know what to say about Malachi anymore. I feel like he's done this time and time again in the fourth quarter. Are you shocked with how he's playing in the fourth quarter? Or is it just one of those things where you're like, oh, well, Malachi's in, time to save the day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is definitely unusual for a rookie. I feel like it's safe to say that he kind of gets better as the game goes on, which is a good quality to have. But it's also a quality he has to work on, because you saw against the Knicks a couple of days ago, he only played 6 minutes. And that's because he just wasn't aggressive at the start of the game. He wasn't, he just wasn't making plays on either end. And Nick Nurse was like, all right, I'm shortening the rotation, you're out. Mm-hmm. So I think he needs to bring this aggression that we see now from him in every fourth quarter to the start of the game. Because, it's not easy to be a rookie and come in and just start taking shots, especially when you have so many talented players around you. But I think that is how he gets his minutes consistently, because he needs to play more than 6 minutes, obviously, like he did tonight. But he can't, not even to turn this as a negative, but he can't only be a fourth quarter player. He needs to bring it from the start of the game. But with that being said, if there is going to be one quarter where you dominate, I'd definitely rather it be the fourth. He's coming up with really timely buckets. I'm pretty sure this is a career high 8 field goal attempts or free throw attempts for him. 8 for 8 from the line today, 5 assists, 2 steals. So he was excellent. We say that a lot. He plays with a lot of poise. He plays like a veteran point guard sometimes. And the fact that he can play with either Kyle or Fred, like I was talking about earlier, with those one starter with the bench lineups, that's really promising too, because most rookie point guards, they need the ball in their hand in order to be successful, and Malachi really doesn't. He can kind of play off ball, he can play on it, and he's also developing a nice chemistry with Utah, who I also want to talk about, because he had that one kind of wraparound pass to Utah, who was cutting, like you said. Utah's a great cutter. And those two developing a chemistry is also really nice for the bench unit to have.
Yeah, people are probably getting tired of me saying it, Oren, about how well Utah reads the floor off ball. It feels like almost every single movement he makes off ball is calculated, where and I know it sounds very easy, from a viewer's perspective, to just be in the right place at the right time, but a lot of times it's not. It's very easy to just sit in the same spot, or fill in the gaps that other players leave for you. But you want to be proactive as an off-ball player, and I think Utah does such a great job of just finding those tiny gaps in the defense, especially when a team's playing zone. Like I said, you want a player to really be proactive and be like, okay, well, Jared Allen, you're going to sag back, and Darius is going to play super high because Kyle Lowry just hit the last 40-foot bomb. I'm going to take this little free throw position, where the little gap is, and I'm going to, operate out of there. That makes Jared Allen step up, and then before you know it, the whole Cleveland, Cavaliers defense, I should say, is scrambling. So, yeah, I'm excited. I've always said when Utah becomes more of a confident player offensively, we're going to see a different player. And that also goes with Flynn as well. I think you see that in most young players. And I know Utah, I believe, Oren, if I'm not mistaken, he's 26 or 25. I think he's 26. But it's almost like he hasn't gotten enough NBA run, where I personally look at him as if he's even younger. I look at him like he's a rookie because he hasn't gotten that run, right? He hasn't adjusted as well as obviously like a Pascal or a Kyle or a Fred. He hasn't adjusted to that pace yet of basketball. So I think we're finally starting to see it. And I love it because Nurse has slowly been ushering in guys like Watanabe, guys like Flynn, giving them a consistent amount of minutes every single game. And you're literally, before our eyes, we're watching these guys become better basketball players. So I'm excited.
And that's the play I was talking about. Yeah, this is the play I was talking about right here. It took me like 10 minutes to pull it up because my computer. By the way, I just want to announce on the broadcast, I got a new computer. It's on the way.
Hey!
Very excited. The clips are going to be so much more crisp once that comes in. No more lag for the viewers. So
I love
get hyped. Get hyped. Yeah.
I love it.
But this was the play I was talking about. And when Flynn is just keeping his dribble alive and getting into the paint, that's when he's most dangerous. And like against the Knicks, we saw that he just didn't do that. Like sometimes he's a little bit hesitant to get in there into the teeth of the defense, but good things happen when he does it. And he has such a tight dribble, like especially for a rookie, he rarely turns it over. He has such a tight dribble that he can do that and then dribble out if nothing comes from it. So definitely want to see more of that. I like attaching Utah to him, which Nick did pretty much all game. They played their minutes together. It just makes sense as such a good cutter. Utah's a pretty good 3-point shooter too now, and Flynn's a good playmaker. So I want to see those two continue to grow on, hopefully for years in this system. And yeah,
I don't know if this is the exact. No, this is a different Flynn clip where he just takes the super high screen and he just attacks. Like this is just straight attacking. And with all due respect, right? Like I have a lot of respect for Kevin Love, what he's accomplished in this league. One of the best, I think, power forwards of the last era. I have to preface it. People always like attack me sometimes for being like this, anti-Baines, anti-Stanley, anti-this, anti-that. And it's like, for me, guys, I whenever you guys know something bad, I'm about to say something like pretty, I call it constructive criticism, but for me, Oren, it's like Kevin Love is a very good basketball player who can play a very good role on a very good team. And here he gets the high screen and roll. And with all due respect, man, like when Kevin Love's the biggest guy on the court defensively, like you have to attack the rim. Like this is also a Kevin Love, Oren, who doesn't look like to be honest, he just wants to be there. I don't have the clip for it. I retweeted it, or I should say I tweeted it, but I took the video from.
What do you think that was?
Raptors.
What do you think he was doing there? What do you think his intentions were?
Let's give some context, Oren. So basically, the play we're talking about, I don't know if we have the clip, but the play we're talking about is when the referee, I believe the Raptors scored, and the referee, obviously naturally the referee has the ball, possession of the ball, and he hands it off to the player to inbound the ball, right? And the referee is, I think, somewhere on the sidelines, closer to, I want to say, Coach Bickerstaff. He tosses the ball to Kevin Love, and Kevin Love, instead of, doing what 99.999% of NBA players do, where they catch the ball and they inbound it to Garland or whoever it is taking the ball up, Kevin Love slaps the ball away you know, like Oren, when you're like, you're just very salty in those basketball runs, and you're just like, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. I'm good, bro. They pass you the ball. I'm good, bro. He just so Malachi hits the three. Rewind it a bit though, Oren.
This is your tweet.
So this is this was my tweet. Yeah, I'd like to formally announce Kevin Love is officially done with basketball.
Here it is. So the ref throws him the ball.
He throws it to him. He just slaps it. And Stanley John's like, okay, thanks. And Darius Garland's in complete confusion as to what's happening. He doesn't even. I don't even blame him, honestly. I would have said, why didn't he just defend Malachi Flynn? Well, you're not expecting your teammate to do that, so I don't know. That for me was the I don't want to get the wrap up our post game live show sent to court, but that was my Shaqtin' a Fool moment of the game. We gotta have like a moment like that, a name like that.
True, we should. That's a good idea.
But that was bad, man. I watched that and I couldn't believe what I saw. I thought it was a miscommunication between the ref and Kevin Love. But Kevin Love, when you're watching him during that play, it's like he taps it and he's still walking off as if he's like going to the bench, and the guys are looking at him like, what are you doing? And then after Malachi Flynn hits the three, he just continues walking, and I was just like, what is going on? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say maybe that's Kevin Love's way of just saying, get me out of here, man. Just get me the hell out of here. He's done his due. He's done what he needed to do in a Cleveland Cavaliers jersey. Just get him out of there. Someone save Kevin Love.
Yeah, I was surprised he wasn't traded in the offseason. Like, that's a bad contract, but honestly, they should like give up a pick to get off him because he's done a lot for that franchise. Like, get him out of there. Like, do something nice for him. But I'm looking at the box score, and it just stood out to me that like Fred and Kyle combined for 3, or together they went 6 for 19. And usually when the Raptors get not very good guard play, at least scoring wise, they lose. But we talked about, Siakam and OG, now they're bringing it consistently 20 points on the offensive end. And then the bench, as we said, were the difference makers. But I want to talk about Kyle and Khem Birch because they're really developing a chemistry together that is just beautiful to see. And like, we're used to this with Kyle making just rim running bigs look probably better than they are. He had 10 assists tonight, but Birch did his part. Like it wasn't just finishing really easy looks. Like he was finishing some tough like alley-oops, and on top of that, he had 2 blocks, he had 2 steals. I thought Birch was excellent. He's a great rebounder, and that's allowing the Raptors to play in transition a lot better because you saw in the first quarter when the Raptors did most of their damage in transition, really only their offense was coming from like transition. It's because now OG and Pascal, they can leak out again, which they weren't doing earlier in the season because Birch is there to rebound and Birch is there to outlet pass. And that's just something we haven't seen in quite a while. So when it happened, it stood out. Like Rebel tweeted, when's the last time Pascal had 2 dunks in the same game? And it's like, yeah, that's true. That never happens anymore. And part of it is that him and OG can now like leak out because they have a real center. So I have a couple clips here just of the Kyle and the Kyle. Wait, here we go. Kyle and Khem Birch's chemistry. This one was my favorite. Just a little touch pass because he definitely got me on the shot. Like I thought he was shooting. And Birch said after the game, he was interviewed. He was like, "That was the easiest 14 points I've ever scored in my life." And it's true. I think like 80% of his baskets were just Kyle giving it to him at the rim and him dunking it or laying it up. So, I mean,
it probably doesn't even feel like he's scoring at times. Like that, for example, is like that's just what's the word I'm looking for? That's just playing with Kyle Lowry. That's literally just we saw Kyle quite literally, Oren, and people still bring this up to this day. Kyle should have got 50% of whatever Bismack's contract was. That 4-year, I think it was $72 million he got from, was it Orlando, Oren, or was it Charlotte? It was Orlando, right?
Charlotte.
It was Charlotte. So he went to Charlotte, got that contract, and I was thinking, damn, like Kyle made this guy look great in the playoffs. And remember, I'm pretty sure Fred wasn't there at that time. Was Fred a Raptor during that Bismack Biyombo playoff? I don't think he was. Yeah. So Kyle was essentially the main playmaker. That was when DeRozan was there as well. So, yeah.
This was a nice finish, by the way. Like, Baines ain't doing that.
He's not doing that. And he's not even running like that. And I literally wrote in my notes, Oren, it is so nice. I'll literally read you exactly what I wrote.
While you find that, I just want to say, like, Khem's really good at slipping screens at the right moment, and this is a perfect timing on that. As soon as this guy goes over, he just slips it and gets to the basket. Yeah, do you have it?
Yeah, I wrote down, Kyle pick and roll with Birch looks amazing. Is this what we were missing out on all this time? A big who can actually run and catch a basketball? So, and that sounds rude, guys, but it's the truth. It's honestly the truth. Watching Baines for half a season and watching him move around the court on screens, it's like he wasn't even threatening the rolls to the rim because he wasn't athletic enough to get there in time. He wasn't fast enough. And now you can see that, I don't want to say the Raptors are using Birch like Ibaka, but it's similar mobility. Like, that's something Ibaka would have done a couple years ago, where you can just toss it up to him and he just, lays it in with ease on an alley-oop. So, and again, this isn't me saying Khem Birch is the savior. He's an all-star. He's this, he's that. I just think he's an above-average center in the NBA. And what you ask for in a center today in the NBA, he's above average is what I think. You can argue average, whatever. It's semantics really at that point. But I think that the Raptors center position was probably the worst in the league before Birch and Gillespie got here. And now you're seeing a player that looks totally different from what the Raptors had earlier. And it's opening up their offense, man. It's opening it up completely. Finally, Kyle can get that space on pick and rolls where teams don't crowd him, or Fred. Teams don't crowd both of them, So it's good to see. I like this comment here where Andre Osipov, I apologize if I might have said that wrong. I feel like I said that right. Andre Osipov says Khem is kind of like Amir Johnson. And I agree, I totally agree. You have a long wingspan, high energy player, athletic. Obviously, the end of what we saw in Amir wasn't as athletic, but the prime of what we saw in Amir Johnson was definitely a player that Kyle Lowry was taking full advantage of.
Yeah, before we get into comments, we will, but a couple more thoughts on the game. Kyle, we talked about yesterday how he has to kind of figure out this role as kind of more of a playmaker, and I think tonight was a perfect example. Like, he did it. He's there. Unsurprisingly, Kyle is back to being Kyle. I was going to also mention Ibaka as a guy who Kyle helped get paid quite a bit.
I think we can argue, Oren, that Ibaka was a good player before he came to the Raptors. He was in Orlando. He was in OKC. He was a damn good player. Like, he was good for OKC. Westbrook and Durant made him, play a role that he succeeded in really, really well in OKC. Orlando was kind of a wash, I think, for him. And then when he came to Toronto, he fit in again perfectly, like a puzzle piece. And yeah, you can argue Kyle had a lot to do with making him a better player. I don't even know if Serge would argue that himself.
No, for sure. And he got paid in Toronto, and he also got paid in LA, partly because of Kyle, but Serge also got a ton better by himself. But the other thing is, like, Gillespie had a bit of a rough game. At least he got into foul trouble, and they went in the fourth quarter to a smaller lineup with OG and Pascal, with, like, I think Utah and Kyle and Malachi, and that lineup really worked. And I want to, like, as much as I like Freddie Gillespie, and his 10-day ends tomorrow, and hopefully the Raptors sign him to a real contract when it ends. He's a great developmental project for sure. But, like, when I put my playoff hat on, the Wizards lost tonight. The Raptors making up some ground. DeMar DeRozan put the Wizards to bed. Thanks, DeMar.
Shout out to DeMar and the Spurs. That was an overtime game too, right?
Yeah. So honestly, like, what I would like to see Nick do is go to basically OG as the backup five and Birch as the starting five, and kind of, like, he can fit Gillespie in, but just lower his minutes, 10 minutes a game maybe, and maybe close, depending on how the game is. Just I want to see more spurts of that small ball lineup because it is really good. We know it's good. We know what it did to Milwaukee and Philadelphia this season. So I want to see them keep using that also because I think in a playoff setting against certain matchups, that small lineup is going to be pivotal. That 5 out, everyone can shoot lineup. So
Yeah.
I want to see him go to it a little bit more down the stretch here. But that's about it on the game for me.
Yeah, Gary Trent Jr. was out of this game. He was injured, so he was out. If anyone was wondering why you didn't see Gary Trent Jr., no, this is not a Nick Nurse conspiracy. A lot of people in the comments, I was going through them our last show, and a lot of people were complaining about how they believed Gary Trent Jr. deserved more minutes. And I had this talk also. I had this discussion with one of my close friends, and it's tough, man. When you're a coach and you see a guy struggling to shoot and sometimes struggling to defend, and just looking like he doesn't really belong, might be stagnating the offense a bit, it's tough to really just be like, okay, well, we're going to hand you 27 minutes regardless. It doesn't matter what you do on this court, right? So it's tough. And again, this isn't us, this isn't an indictment on Gary Trent Jr. He played really well as a starter. He could just be getting used to the role of coming off the bench. I complained on Twitter myself initially about how Nick Nurse would constantly just put Gary Trent Jr. out there with an all-bench lineup, which to me didn't make much sense because I always felt like you just have to – if Nick Nurse wants to get the most out of these lineups, you have to stagger the starters. You just have to. Like, there always should be, I think, 2 starters in, if not one. And if it's one, it has to be, I think, Kyle Lowry. So
yeah, I agree with that. And
yeah.
Real quick, I was surprised they went to the all bench today because at least I thought I understood it last game because when Boucher was there, because that was the same lineup that was playing when they were injured and they were winning games. So I understood going to that 5-man lineup because at least they had already had chemistry and Boucher was there. But now that Boucher is out, I was shocked he went to it in the first half today. And it made no sense. And Rodney Hood and Bembry both looked really, really shaky.
Yeah. Oren, I have a question because I think if I could pick my favorite play of the game, that wasn't the one we showed already, the Kevin Love one, because that probably was honestly my favorite play of the game. I got the most laughs out of that Kevin Love play. And I want to know, I'm going to implore some of my Cavs friends on Twitter to, try and get an answer out of Darius Garland or Kevin Love on what the situation was.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will ask him.
I gotta know what Kevin Love was thinking, what Darius Garland was thinking. It just doesn't make sense. But if that wasn't my favorite play of the game, this definitely was, Oren. I'm gonna play the clip right now. OG
I know what it is.
Anunoby,
Yeah, I knew it.
All NBA defense.
I was about to show the same clip, but yeah.
Oh man, and it's just fitting that this was his last play of the game before he got subbed out. The
this
Raptors
made me cry. I don't know why. I was getting emotional at this.
I didn't want to go too crazy about this on Twitter because, again, I have some Cavs friends, some Cavs media guys that follow me, and I don't want them to go, well, that's Damian Dotson. Like, Sahal, like, you're going crazy. Not Damian Dotson. Like, you need to relax. OG, might be all NBA defense, and it's guys, I don't care. I don't care. Hashtag I don't care because at the end of the day, he's an NBA player. And OG did not let him breathe. And it was literally the icing on the cake. Or you can even say the cherry. You put that little cherry on the cupcake when you're done the icing. The cherry was that block at the end. And then OG just he's feeling himself at that point. He walks off. I wish they got that walk off when he was just dapping up everybody on the bench.
Yeah.
He didn't let him breathe. And this is the type of player OG Anunoby is. I think he's one of the best one-on-one wing defenders in the league. Or you can just say defenders because of the multiple positions he can guard and his insane amount of strength that he carries in that body. It's different. I don't think, Oren, you could really say that the NBA truly, truly has like a full lockdown defender because OG, I'm not going to lie to you and say OG doesn't get burnt or doesn't get got. Sometimes he does. So does Kawhi Leonard. So does Ben Simmons. So did Tony Allen back in the day. But this play was the one for me where I was like, if OG doesn't get all NBA defense, man, after all the work we've seen him put in this year, I'm going to be livid. I don't know about you guys in the comments. let me and Oren know what you guys think about OG's all NBA defense chances. But
I hope he makes it, but he's missed a lot of games that I'm kind of scared that people are gonna. But I just want to point something out, and this is why you should absolutely make fun of your Cavs friends, because even though this isn't like Garland or Sexton, this is still a guard, which, you know, that's why OG's special. He can stay on anybody, whether it's a guard or a center, whatever. But he calls Damian Doncic. You're saying he calls for the ISO. Like, watch this.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, he must. He doesn't. That's how I know he doesn't read the scouting report. He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't read the scouting report.
He calls for the ISO.
He didn't study for the test. You know, guys, when you're in elementary school or high school and you don't study for the test, and you're thinking in the back of your head, like, I think I've done enough homework and enough, you know, to really get away with this one. He didn't study for the test.
Yeah, the Raptors are they're like this on the bench when he calls for the ISO. That's crazy. Yeah, that was also my favorite play of the game, though. I was about to pull it up. That's what you teach the kids, man. That's, you know, OG is one of those defenders who I'm sure college coaches show, you know, their kids. Just he defends with his feet, you know, he slides his feet, he doesn't use his hands. He picks off those passes at the top of the arc like better than anyone in the league. Yeah, it's pretty crazy that he called for an ISO, Damian Doncic. Shout out to his confidence, though, man.
That is hilarious.
Shout out to he's a confident
That's not
guy.
Confidence, man. That's hallucination. That's delusion.
Stupidity? Yeah.
That is delusion. Yeah. You need to see a doctor, with all due respect. And that's not a Damian Dotson thing. That's anybody in the league that's probably not an all-star. If you're calling an ISO on Anunoby and you haven't gotten at least 3 all-stars under your belt, walk out of the arena. Walk out of the arena. I think Sunnybrook Hospital is not too far. Or actually, no, they're not even in Toronto. What's the biggest Tampa hospital?
Bro, why would I know anything about Tampa, Florida? I've never been to Florida. Actually, I have been to Florida when I was young, but not Tampa Bay.
I did too. I went to Orlando.
Let us know if you guys have any questions in the comments, and then we'll try to get to a couple if you do.
Go to Tampa General Hospital or Memorial Hospital of Tampa, Advent Health. Well, I just named you 3 different hospitals. If you don't have 5 all-stars under your belt, okay, I'm changing it to 5.
Find like a mental hospital though, not physical one.
I'm changing it to 5. It's not 3 all-stars anymore. You need to have 5 all-stars under your belt to call for an ISO on OG Anunoby in the year 2021. That's what you need to do.
Let's get to some questions. Matthew asks, do we sign Freddie to his new contract once it ends tomorrow?
Do we re-sign new Freddie to his contract? Yes, you do. And to be honest, I'm not going to lie and say Freddie had a great game today. He didn't. I think, you know, I'm not even going to bring up like his moments, which is like the missed dunks and things of that nature, and him, you know, racking up the fouls. But like Oren said, he's quite literally a developmental project. If you're re-signing him to a 2-year unguaranteed deal, the reason for that is that you can see him growing in a role and eventually maybe becoming a serviceable backup, a guy that you can eventually down the road play in the playoffs, play in a playoff rotation. Because right now, and Oren said this multiple times as well, you're not playing. If the playoffs start today, Gillespie, he's not getting a minute. And if he does, I'd be shocked. I'd be absolutely shocked. Yeah. Maybe if you really, 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 you know, badly need size and Khem Birch is out or something of that nature, then you throw Gillespie in for 5-10 minutes. But like Oren said, I'm going with OG as the backup 5 there. So yeah, I'm in favor of re-signing Freddie.
Yeah, I hope they do.
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. He shows some pretty good trades, man.
Yeah, Oliver asks, do you think Baines is coming back next year? I would say no. And if I think they either trade him or they just don't guarantee his contract. Like the only way they trade him is because $7 million is a good contract matching salary. So that's where it comes in handy. But no, I don't think he'll be on the Raptors. But someone else asked, will he be in the NBA? I kind of think he will. But I really like this question. And I think I know where you are on this, but I think it's a really good question. You want to go first?
Yeah, so we can argue asks, will Flynn be the better 2 than Gary Trent Jr. next year? If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know like what my name is on Twitter. I'm a big Gary Trent guy. I tweeted months ago, guys, that Gary Trent if you take out all the All-Stars in the league and then you take out all the Raptors in the league, Gary Trent Jr. is probably my favorite player in the league to watch. I love his passion. I love watching him. I've been a huge fan since Duke, and I always felt like his game can, he has so much more room to grow. I'm gonna stop waffling, guys. I'm gonna say no to make it very simple.
Really?
That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't think Malachi is gonna play a big part in next season. I think what we've seen this season, he's almost guaranteed a set role in the rotation next year. I can see him having kind of like a DeLon Wright role next year.
Wait, but who do you think is going to be better out of JTJ or Flynn?
Next year? Gary Trent. To me, that's not even a question.
Oh, so what were you saying?
That's what I was saying. I thought Gary Trent Jr. was going to be better. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Flynn for some reason.
No. I'm with Gary Trent Jr. all the way. But again, that's not an indictment on Flynn. Flynn is going to have a role next year. He has a role this year. He's going to play, I think, like a DeLon Wright maybe role next year, where he's just going to go back and forth between the 1 and the 2, playing with Fred and hopefully Kyle if he's back. But no, Gary Trent Jr. Guys, come on. I know the recency bias. Gary Trent struggled a little bit. Let's pump the brakes a little. He's still a really good 2 guard in this league. A really, really good 2, especially if he's coming off your bench. You're with me.
I am with you. I thought about it for a second, but like the thing about Flynn is that being a 6-foot guard, like so much is against you right off the bat that like you have to develop so many little skills to even become like a serviceable player. Whereas at 6'5", JTJ, like he comes into the league and he can just play. So like he has a built-in advantage, and I think, if you ask me who will be better 5 years from now, that's a really tough question. I might actually take Flynn, but I think it's going to take Flynn several years, just like it took Fred VanVleet several years to kind of be able to figure out his role in the NBA and how. But I also want to highlight this comment. I'm just happy our first round pick worked out again. We take that for granted. Yeah. Absolutely. Most teams don't just hit every draft pick. And the fact that the Raptors hit on almost every draft pick, like at that point in the 29th pick, if you get a player who can play like rotation minutes in the NBA for several years, you won. That's all you want at that point. Yep. And Malachi has proven to do that, and I think he has pretty high upside.
And that made me curious, Oren, because as we speak, I'm searching up the 2020 draft selections. Right, and a lot of people, Oren, said this is going to be a weak draft.
Did they?
Like, I feel like a lot of people said that this was going to be not a weak draft, but like a deeper draft, but I think weak at the top. And you have LaMelo.
Oh, this draft, yeah, the past draft.
The past draft, not this draft, not
okay.
Not the guys. But yeah, I mean, at least comparatively, the 2020 draft to the 2021 draft, the 2020 draft's weaker. I mean, everyone can agree on that. The guys coming in are special. So you have possibly 3 or 4 legitimate superstars coming in this draft. Possibly is what people are projecting. So again, it's huge. I'm looking at the draft, and this past draft has a lot of hits, believe it or not.
It does. It's a lot of good NBA players. I think less like huge superstar talent, although LaMelo and I think Anthony Edwards are both very high upside, but a lot of really just solid players in this draft for sure. Mm-hmm. What about, do you have any takes on this?
Ooh, I just froze. You might have to answer this one.
Oh, so the question is, do you think Masai is re-signing? I keep going back and forth with this one every day. I have a different opinion on it. My take is that Masai is not walking for a job on another team. So, that's just my opinion. I don't think he's going to go and try to build the Wizards up or the Knicks. I think if Masai walks, it's for something either bigger than basketball or something in the NBA front office, because I really think Masai is like a good dark horse, like NBA commissioner in the future. So I think that's a possibility, like that he walks for a job in the league office. or something outside of basketball. But if he walked just to go to another franchise, I'd be pretty shocked. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I don't think. Yeah, I'd be absolutely shocked if he walked away from this franchise to another franchise, because I genuinely believe Masai when he said time and time again over the years that the Raptors organization has been almost like the perfect situation for him, and things might change. Like things might change in his career where he's offered a certain position, maybe with the NBA or the NBA Africa League or whatever it is. Things can change with Masai where he says, you know what, I feel like I've done more than enough in terms of what I wanted to accomplish, so to speak, or in the NBA. He's an NBA champion now. He brought, the first ever championship to a city that was starving of one. I don't know about you, Oren. I wasn't alive when the Blue Jays won. I don't know if anybody in the comment section was when they won back-to-back, but I think it was 92, 93, if I'm not mistaken. But it's tough. It's tough, man. People have asked me this before. They're like, would you be shocked if Masai left? And I don't think I would, to be honest. I don't. Because if the Raptors didn't win a championship or they didn't make the finals, I'd kind of be shocked, because I feel like Masai looks at this team and he's like, I know what I can accomplish with this team, and let's see if we can get there. And they did it. They got to that pinnacle, right? It's one thing to get to the pinnacle. It's another thing to win it all, right? And they did that. So I think that's going to be a big reason into why Masai might possibly leave. But I think it's one of those things, Oren, where I won't be shocked either way. I won't. Adam makes a good point here. Straight up just says Masai is why we won the title. And then he follows it up with, he will resign. So, well, you got to put the dash in between. You got to put the dash there, man. Because if that's the Adam I'm thinking of, that's my guy Adam, you got to put the dash, because I don't know if you mean resign or resign.
I think he means resign. Usually people don't put the dash when they're on social media. True. They're too quick. But, okay, Guru, 2 related questions. Guru says, what is FVV when his shots aren't going down? And then Nalin says, or Naline, are you letting Kyle walk this offseason? I mean, these are kind of related, so I'll touch on Fred.
Yeah.
I think Fred does a lot of things other than score. He still struggles to score around the basket, but I think we talked about it last episode. He's getting a little bit better at that, but like, he's a pretty good playmaker. He had a nice feed to Birch, where he kind of looked Birch off to the corner and then threw the pass over the top to give Birch an open dunk. He's getting better as a playmaker. He makes smart decisions with the ball constantly. Like today, he wasn't forcing it. He knew it wasn't his night. His shots weren't going down. He moved the ball. He wasn't the guy who was going to like dribble in. Maybe in his past he would have been, but that's the biggest thing about Fred. He's such a smart player. And offensively, he keeps it moving when he has to. And defensively, he's always helping you. That's the other big thing. He's always keeping his man in front of him, digging down on centers for steals.
Very good rebounder, too, for his size. And that's one thing, honestly, Oren, I've harped on with Fred VanVleet the last couple of years, where I was hoping he'd become that level of a rebounder that maybe Kyle's at. Because when you really think about it, Kyle is not just a very good rebounder for his size, but he also uses defensive rebounds to kind of push him offensively. He pushes the pace. We constantly see Kyle, with the quick inbounds. He's like the inbound king. The ball goes to the referee. He's like, give me the ball right now, quickly. Gotta give it to me. That's like Kyle. Right? He's always trying to not just push the pace and push it faster than another team might want, but he dictates the pace. When he wants to go slow, he'll go slow. And I think Fred's done a good job. I mean, he had 5 rebounds today. I believe on the season he's averaging just around 4, maybe. So rebounding is one thing, but man, I said it last show, Oren, I want Fred to get a floater so bad, man. Even in this game, I was watching him drive, and I'm just like, don't stop in your tracks. And then he stopped in his tracks, and then he did that.
Way too much today.
That, like, I'm going to use a Vaseline bottle, guys, but he'll take the ball, and he'll pump fake, and he's like 8 feet away from the rim, and it's like pump fake, pump fake, pump fake. and then like do this like weird like reverse layup thing that like hits the side of the rim super hard, and he tumbles to the floor, and it's like, oh no.
No, for sure. He does that too much, and I agree. The floater would be huge for him. But I guess actually these questions are kind of related, and I want to get to Phoenix Plazy because he's a real fan.
Yeah,
he says he basically says, if we get Cade, do you let JTJ walk? And now Lynn said, do you let Kyle walk this offseason? I think like the answer to both of those questions based on I don't even know if it's really fair to say based on what Masai has done, because he did let some key players walk, but based on keeping Kyle at the deadline and trading for JTJ, I don't think they want to let any of them walk for nothing. But I think like there are scenarios. Masai talks a lot about flexibility, and I think there's always scenarios where you do sign and trade a player, or you let someone walk if someone better is coming in free agency to replace them. So the Raptors have prioritized that flexibility for this upcoming offseason. So they have a lot of options and how they want to build this team. So it's impossible to predict who they're going to keep and who they're going to let go. But I think I'd be surprised if they let any of these players that we're talking about go for nothing. They're only going to let them go, I think, if they're getting something better in return.
Yeah, I don't see them getting rid of Kyle for nothing. It doesn't make sense from a basketball perspective, from a roster perspective. It just doesn't make sense. And surprisingly,
and Cade and Gary are also very different, as John Doe mentions here. Gary's more of a spot up shooter, and Cade's more of a playmaker, so they'd fit fine. Yeah.
Cade doesn't affect Gary. You don't know if Cade will bust or just be good, not transcendent.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in the Cade discussion, guys. I thought we banned Cade Cunningham from this chat. I thought.
I'm on the play-in mindset. Oh, okay. I'm not even on the Cade mindset.
Yeah, we got to stop mentioning him, guys, because what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get the hopes up, and then if the Raptors by any chance get the number 2 overall pick, oh my God, I'm gonna be hearing about Cade nonstop. Even though I truly believe that it's consensus that Cade's going 1 in this draft, and I'm just gonna hear it nonstop. So it's either I want the Raps to get, if they are in lottery again, I want them to get the number 1 pick or get like the 7 or the 8, man, because if we get like a top 5 pick and I got to hear about Cade for like 3-4 more months, Oren, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. I don't know what I'm going to do. Goodness, I can't. Yeah, but to answer that question, though, in terms of Kyle, I think we did a good job answering that. I don't know about you, Oren. I feel like you're on the same wavelength as me where I want Kyle to stay. Because I still feel like he's a very, very good basketball player. He's a guy I think you need to keep Fred and keep Malachi continuously progressing throughout their careers. And I hate this notion, Oren, that you just stop progressing like after year 3 or year 4, right? Because I think I've heard from a lot of people, oh, well, Fred's reached, he's done. Like, he's reached his prime. That's it. Like, and it's like, no, like DeMar became one of the best wing playmakers in the league in like year 7. So it's like you can still add things to your game that completely transform your game, right? I think if we see Fred kind of transform how he drives to the rim and the different things he can do when he drives to the rim, oh my goodness! Like, you think Fred is good now and he's a borderline all-star? Goodness gracious, we're gonna see a lot. But yeah, I want Kyle to stay.
Yeah.
I feel like most of that is the sentimental thing, Oren.
Yeah, but it also makes sense from a salary standpoint. Most of the contenders don't have cap room, so they either need to sign and trade for Kyle, or, that's really the only option, or he has to take a massive pay cut. So, Lowry on Birch chemistry, trying to get him paid. That's what Kyle said. Anyways, before we go, a lot of people talking about the tank versus the not tank. Regardless of your opinions on it, this week the Raptors play 5 games in 7 days. So, and we have Brooklyn, Denver, Lakers, and I think Jazz, like a ridiculous schedule coming up. So this is really it. At least after this week, we can probably stop talking about this because we will know. We'll have a really good idea after this week if the Raptors
100%.
are play-in bound or if they are bound for the lottery. So this is, that's crazy. 5 days and 7 games. That's crazy.
You guys, I was gonna say, Oren, they've stayed with us for what have we been doing this now? Maybe almost the entire season we've been doing this post-game show. But Phoenix, Guru, you guys, I know there's more of you guys that have stayed with us since the beginning, and we've been talking about the tank versus the anti-tank, and we're about to find out. You guys will know by the end of this week. I think by this time next week, you guys will know exactly where the Raptors stand, whether they're going to be a lottery team, or if the Raptors are really going to make a push for the play. And again, I want to shout out the San Antonio Spurs and DeMar DeRozan still helping out the Raptors 2.5 years later after he was dealt to San Antonio. Shout out to DeMar.
Always been a good guy.
The Wizards. Yeah, Wizards were on an 8-game streak, by the way, Oren. We all see what Russell Westbrook's doing with the triple doubles. We see what Bradley Beal's doing.
No, that's the team to watch for sure. Like, get Chicago out of here. Chicago's not doing anything, but the Wizards are the ones who I'm scared of for sure.
Chicago, I'm not worried at all about Chicago, and that's kind of crazy for us to say because I think they beat us by like 15 earlier this year. They beat the Raptors by 15 or so earlier this year, but yeah, man. I think I got a DM DeRozan or something with like a smiley face or I don't know what it is. We're going to end it off there, though. The Raptors defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers. What was the score? 112-96 on a Monday night, bringing the Raptors record to 26 wins and 35 losses on the season. You guys can fact check that. And if I'm wrong, don't send me an email. DM me. Before you guys leave tonight, we need you to like, comment, and subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. Turn on the post notifications if you haven't already. We also want to thank our sponsor, Arv Qureshi from Remax, for supporting the show. This was the Wrap Up, your Raptors Republic post-game live show. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi, again here with the greatest to do it, Oren Weisfeld. We'll see you guys tomorrow night, actually, Oren, versus guess who? The Brooklyn Nets. And guess who they got back? Kevin Durant. That's going to be super fun to watch. I don't know, Oren, if you saw the Suns-Nets game, but I'm excited to watch Durant. I'm excited. Take care, guys.
Later.